violent, that the religion purports an aggressive faith that is, in its way, political, military. This is not to say that 1.3 or 1.6 billion Muslims are this violent. And in our own family, I don't think there was as much worry because our father was more merciful than Muhammad would even allow.
All right, let's talk about the Muslims in the West here who are caught between a rock and a hard place. Okay, explain this.
Well, I mean, on the one hand, they like America. They came here the same way we came here, which was for the prosperity that you have. On the other hand, they are good Muslims. And they're being told by the Muslims in the Middle East, they're told by the Muslims of other cultures, you have been obliged. You are obligated to holy war. You must fight. You know, the Quran is very explicit on this. You have been obliged to holy war. If you do not go on holy war, you are endangering yourself of hellfire. And so they're in a public relations nightmare, but they're also in a spiritual nightmare. The public relations nightmare is affirm jihad and face the wrath of America, you know, the American media, deny jihad and face the wrath of the Muslim community. The same thing with their spiritual issue. You do not fight, you can be a good American, but you'll be a bad Muslim. You do fight, you may be a good Muslim, but you will not be a good American.
Yeah, let's go right down that path. We're the suicide pilots and hijackers expecting forgiveness of sins and a certain degree of honor in paradise because they did the horrific deeds, according to the Quran.
Hadith 135 promises that when you die as a martyr, you'll go not to heaven, but to the highest, the 100th level of heaven. They weren't expecting some portion of reward. They were expecting the highest reward of sitting on couches and perpetual virgins passing by them, serving them sexually. And so they are picturing that the more devout you are to jihad, the higher your reward is in heaven. There's no question that they thought when they rammed those planes into the World Trade Center that the next thing they would see is this paradise that was very sensual, very physical, and when it exploded, sadly, they saw something else.
What does the Quran say about Muslims who are slothful Muslims and do not endeavor in jihad, that do not take that line?
Yeah, the Quran is very explicit that if you do not fight in jihad, Surah 495, not equal are those believers who sit at home as well, you know, and those who strive and fight hard in the cause of Allah with their wealth and with their lives. A slothful Muslim is considered a poor Muslim.
Probably the preeminent example is if we remove ourselves from the World Trade Center into the hot spot of the world today, it's Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, it's Israel. And you'll never hear Muslims get on Fox News or CNN or anything else and say what's going on with the suicide, terrorist bombers, homicide bombers is wrong. It's justifiable to more than 80% of the Muslims there in Israel. And they want to fight for what was Palestine, they say. The problem? There is no Palestine. It's my contention that the Palestinians should have as much territory as they have ever had. Zero.
You know, I've got to ask you guys, I mean, when you were growing up, it seems to me that the hatred toward the Jews in Israel is off the charts. I mean, it's not tied to logic in certain ways. I mean, did you guys feel this when you were growing up?
We were taught that they drink the blood, the Jews drink the blood of the Palestinian children. We were taught that the Jews are the moneymongers, the horrible, mean, conniving, mean-spirited people. And here's a hard part for us. This is difficult for us to say, but it's a fact of our lives. And that is, many who come from our background, many who have been saved out of Islam, still have this vestigial distaste for Israel.
We only got a couple minutes. Two questions. Number one is the fact of what is the illustration about the elderly, those that are sick, that cannot participate in jihad? What is that verse? Because it shows those people that are elderly and are sick, they could have internal spiritual struggle, but they cannot participate in jihad in that section of the Quran. What is that?
Yeah, it's volume 4 and book 52, the one I cited about jihad itself. There's a list of people who are excluded. One are those who are looking after their parents, those who are the infirm and the elderly. And so they are excluded. A woman is not allowed to fight jihad according to Islam. Her pilgrimage, her hajj becomes her jihad. You know, if only 1% of the Muslims worldwide believe in jihad, if only 1% do, and the rest, the 99% are peaceful, we're still dealing with an army of 16 million warriors.